An incredibly silly and stupid sport. And I cannot believe they pay us money to watch it and talk about it.
I posted when that game ended. The Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence falling, getting up, and scoring to beat the Chiefs. Does that happen in any other Jaguars season ever?
No. It's
No.
bizarro world.
Yes, it's bizarro world.
We are
completely.
on the other side of reality right now.
If anything, it's a kind of a Chiefs play. It's a Patrick Mahomes thing to get away with that. Maybe the Jags incepted the Chiefs magic. I don't know, but yeah, that's such a good way to put it, Robert. I'm high on life right now, man. Like when a standalone game delivers that well, it's all you could ask for. It's so good.
Obviously, the stumble into the game-winning touchdown is hilarious, and just the sort of moment that comes along, I don't know how often. We can go through that whole last drive, though. They get the ball with 1:54 left. They have a completion. 40 seconds tick off of the clock without them calling a timeout. On the next play, Trevor gets sacked instead of throwing the ball away. So they have to burn a timeout. And then on the ensuing play, he throws an absolute dime to BTJ 33 yards down the field, throws a missile shot to De'Ami Brown on an out route to put them in range. And then it ends with the stumble touchdown for the Jags to ultimately win the game.
Don't forget the delay of game while he's staring the play
I forgot about the delay of game.
Which was like the 5th time he was either getting that penalty or approaching that penalty in that game. And speaking of the timeouts, not the first non-timeout usage for the Jaguars in this game. Before the half, they had like a minute left, or when the Chiefs were about to punt and time is ticking off the clock, and Liam Cohen doesn't call timeout. What are we doing?
I'm so sorry. I was just talking about what happened during the actual plays, and I almost forgot the delay of game. That's why I appreciate you guys being here.
I really think that drive, and we were joking about this in the Discord during the climax of the game, like that's the Trevor Lawrence experience in a nutshell. Like it's the talent, even the athleticism to maneuver around and try to evade pressure. Like it's the natural talent, it's the arm talent. I mean, very few guys throw a prettier strike than that ball to Brian Thomas Jr. It's freaking gorgeous. But then, yeah, you get the delay of game. You get just some of the ridiculousness. You get, he gets away with some stupid stuff every single week, which is kind of what Derrik said last week when he was defending him. Like, yeah, well, you sign up for it, but you take you take the highs with the lows. And on this night, at least, you beat the Chiefs.
Here's what I think is an important distinction about the Trevor Lawrence that we saw tonight and the Trevor Lawrence that I had become frustrated with. That creation that you're talking about, that's not a normal part of the Trevor Lawrence experience. Trevor Lawrence is somebody that gets rid of the ball really quickly. He's not really that much of a creator despite the physical gifts that he is bringing to the table. And I think every once in a while, that's a frustrating part of watching him, is that like, you don't have to play like Dan Marino. Like that's not, you don't have to limit yourself to playing this way. And so today, him doing so much work with his legs and so much work deeper into the down was one of the reasons that the Jaguars won this game. I was looking up the numbers in real time because I'm like, he just doesn't scramble this often. Like this is notable. This feels different. He set his own record for scrambles in a game with 7. He had never had more than 5 in a single game. And before this game, he had never had more than 4 scramble first downs in a game. That 5th one, or that touchdown, was his 5th first down on a scramble in this game. So career highs in total scrambles and first downs via scramble. And then one of the biggest plays of the entire game, the chuck down to Travis Hunter, who makes an insane catch on that play. That is Trevor creating deeper into the down. And so that's what was so fun about this, is that kind of similar and adjacent to the conversation that I've had about Justin Herbert at times in his career, where I kind of want him to play a little bit looser and freer, deeper into the down, and be a little bit more creative given the skill set that he's bringing to the table. And so, Derrik, that was what was so exciting for me tonight, is that it's an extra layer to Trevor Lawrence that we don't often get. And I think it absolutely turned him into a more dangerous version of the player that we have seen so far.
And like that stuff being in there, we've seen it before at his best in flashes. And like, there's just, maybe I've had just held on for too long that I know that that guy's in there somewhere and that he has that ability to do that. One, it was the scrambling. Again, he scrambled. And all this, by the way, is why I brought up how are they going to play against Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs? Like, how are they going to be able to pick which one? They picked a lot of the stuff up when they did get blitzed. I thought was pretty impressive. And then 2, Trevor didn't just, I'm feeling pressure, I'm just going to immediately replace it the way that we know he can sometimes. He was like, I'm going to hold on to the ball. In this game, obviously all the scrambles, but a 2.79 time to throw, which was 0.21 seconds higher than any other game that he had played this season, which, to your point, he was doing a lot of, I catch the ball, I'm just kind of playing point guard, I'm going to get the ball out immediately. And I think that did some nice things for the offense early on. And like, he wasn't taking a lot of sacks in the first month of the season and all that, but he blended that ability to not do that much of the dumb sack taking, except for that one in the fourth quarter, with the actual playmaking that we saw a little bit later in the game with all the scrambles, some of the deep balls, and kind of just feeling like he was playing football instead of just like doing what was on the X's and O's.
Robert, I'm putting you on the spot, but do you remember what his high was before tonight? Like, what was the game before this?
Scrambles. So he had 5 scrambles, was his most ever in a game, and 4 first downs via scramble. Those were his 2 career highs before tonight.
But do you know who he was playing when he did that?
Oh, it was the Saints, I want to say. I think it was like the Saints in 2023.
So that was the night I decided I rocked with Trevor, and I'm not even kidding you. It was the Thursday night game, and Trevor was beat to shit.
I remember this.
He was dealing with like 3 or 4 injuries, and he ran 8 times for 59 yards in that game. And he also played well as a passer too. And I just remember being like, this guy kicks ass when he does this. Like, he is a really good athlete, and he can make a lot of plays with his legs. And look, we all understand, even somebody as big and strong as Trevor Lawrence doesn't, like, you don't want to just open yourself up to getting hit as often as you do when you run that much, but it needs to be part of his game. Like, it's too valuable for this to for us to wait 2 years betwin performances like this.
And they picked up a first down with a design run with him too in this game.
Yeah.
Not even just
they ran like QB power, right? Yeah, it was super fun. Yeah, I just, it's so valuable, and it's kind of striking that we have to wait so long in between glimpses of that, because I have a sneaking suspicion it would unlock another level to his game if it was a little more consistent.
We said it last Thursday. I said, if you're going to be a guy who has to win in the first 2.5 seconds, you have to be an incredible decision maker and incredibly accurate. You can be a little bit shakier in both of those things in the long term if you are not just adding value in the first 2.5 seconds of the play. And so that's why the version that we saw tonight, it's like, yeah, I'll fuck with this. Like, I'm on board with this version of Trevor Lawrence. Like, I absolutely loved what he was bringing to the table tonight. There are still going to be those moments where you're trying to tear your hair out while you're watching him. But if you're contributing to what your offense is doing on a bunch of different levels, then you're more willing to live with some of that stuff. And so that the Trevor Lawrence part of it obviously is a huge takeaway from this game. I mean, there's tons of other stuff to get to. We have a pick 6 that swings the game on the goal line, and we didn't even get to it in the first 10 minutes because of how crazy the ending of the game was. I think in a lot of games, if you're picking off a pass at the goal line and bringing it back for a touchdown and you have a 14-point swing immediately, you can say, all right, did that team really deserve to win the game down to down? But then you add that to the fact that we have a fumble of their own on the goal line in this game. And then you have one of the most egregious missed pass interference penalties of all time. That's a swing that gives the Chiefs a touchdown. And so even with some of the randomness in those moments, I think it all comes out in the wash for the Jags here.
It definitely comes out in the wash. And that to me too, like, again, I know like turnovers and pick sixes can be lucky, but like that was also just a great call and a great play by the Jaguars. Like, it wasn't just a lucky tip that gets, brought back.
Not at all.
I mean, like they drop out a Devin Lloyd from that weak side of the formation off the A gap, sprints him over to the strong side, undercuts that little slant spot route they're running. And it's just, he breaks like 3 tackles all the way to get, like,
he took down Mahomes and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah. Like, just incredible play top to bottom. And so, yeah, there's just like, even though I think, and actually that was the other thing too, is I think obviously Mahomes statistically had a pretty good day, but they were still making him work for it. Like, he was still having to do a lot as a scrambler. A lot of their biggest plays were him creating 3, 4, 5 seconds into the play, finding Tyquan Thornton, way off of what his actual route was. Like, they were,
we're getting rocked. I mean, that's another just exactly. Like that's a coin flip play that probably shouldn't be complete, and they get a little bit lucky.
Exactly. That was just, even though the numbers look like what they look like, I thought the Jaguars mostly acquitted themselves actually pretty well in this game defensively.
I think it was just a really.
Go ahead. as good of a play as the Lloyd pick was, I want to highlight the Chiefs in the same situation. Obviously, it's not a 99-yard pick six, but who was it?
Nick Bolton.
Well, it was Bolton, but who was the safety that caught him on the play before that set that play up? I made a note of it. Oh shoot, I
can't remember.
I know.
That rocked Trevor at the goal line.
Just rocked him at the goal line and set up the play for Nick Bolton to take the ball out of his hands. I thought I was so impressed by the team defense. And I thought Jason Kelce made a solid point at halftime that Trevor, if you follow your blocks a little bit better, maybe you don't have that problem. But the effort by the Chiefs to set up a 4th and goal and then Nick Bolton to just Matumbo the ball out of Trevor's hands. It was great.
And you know what,
Jaden Hicks.
Jaden Hicks, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The other crazy thing about that sequence, so obviously they fumble at the goal line, Chiefs get the ball on the 1 or the 2. The play immediately after that, the Chiefs get their first explosive run in the decade immediately after that. And then 3 plays later, they just march into the end zone. And that was where, at that point in the game, I was like, man, the Jaguars are doing it again. And here we go. Nothing's going to change. And then obviously the rest of the game plays out. But it was that was such a funny, it just felt like there were so many of these 5 or 6 game-breaking moments either way that's why it felt like such a weird back and forth, constantly fluctuating game.
Yeah, that drive, it was a 33-yard run, and then Hollywood made a great play. They blitzed the nickel off the left side. Mahomes kind of pitched it out to him. Hollywood makes a guy miss in space. They get 16, and that was the huge 34-yard completion to Tyquan Thornton down the right side for a huge chunk gain. And I agree with you, Derrik. I mean, Mahomes had to work for a ton of it in this game. All of the scrambles. It's funny that Trevor had 5 scrambles or 6 scrambles in this game was the most he's ever had. I think Mahomes has had 2. So Trevor had his career high was tonight. He had 5 first downs via scramble. Mahomes already had 2 of those this year. And then he did what he did as a scrambler today. And you combine that with, that play he makes to Hollywood down the right sideline for the go-ahead touchdown is him creating out of space. They have an unblocked pressure coming up the middle. He extends to his right and just throws a dime down the right sideline. This was an awesome Mahomes game, and it did feel like it was just going to be another one of those Chiefs wins as he kept pulling rabbit after rabbit out of his hat, and somehow it ends up swinging back the other way.
Which it's obviously not the only reason, but I don't think we mentioned this. The freaking kicking game looming large one more time. Harrison Butker screws up the kickoff after that, which makes it that much easier for the Jags. It's very funny that tonight we kind of poked a hole in the Chiefs' magic, and it was the Jacksonville Jaguars of all teams that did it. That's pretty tough. But yeah, it was 2 Thursday night footballs ago, the Cardinals and the Seahawks, where we're talking about this. Kickers are spitting the bit, man. I'm very curious about it, whether it's kicking out of bounds or messing up the landing zone. But you gotta be able to count on pinning the other team. We're not really pinning teams deep anymore, but at least don't let them start on the 40-yard line. That is egregious.
Hasn't been the best year for Harrison Butker.
No, I would not say so.
I
shame. Also want to. I want to. So I feel like this is a game. There are a lot of other cases where I would love to talk about a bunch of scheme stuff. That's going to be that'll be a Wednesday discussion. I don't really care about that right now.
We're only 16 minutes into it. Let it fly, my man. You literally let your hair down before the show because you're feeling so
talk
good.
your shit.
So that's what
Derrik.
I was going to say. I don't want to do the scheme stuff. I don't care about that right now. To me, there were just more cool plays that I want to talk about. One on the big Travis Hunter catch, Travis Etienne makes a hell of a block in the hole,
sir.
which 1, great block as it is. 2, I've never seen him do that before this year. He did not do any of that before this season. So that's another kind of feather in the Jags cap of man, some of these players are just getting better. Him, obviously Devin Lloyd, who we've brought up a number of times. So there was that. Also, later in the game, the Chiefs, I think it was after some sort of penalty, end up in a 2nd and 24. And Mahomes throws an unbelievable ball down the seam. That is in 90% of the other universes. He hits that and it gets caught. Monteric Brown overlaps as the corner over high and just comes and makes a swat on the ball. And that was for one of your depth corners to go and make a play like that is again, like the Jags teams previously did not do that. And to see all of these guys make the plays for them when they really needed to. Brian Thomas Jr. having one of his best games. Travis Hunter really finally feeling like he was a part of the offense in a way that he wasn't before. Just like feels like it's coming together for them in a little bit of a really cool way.
Man, what was it? It was a 2nd and 11. Travis Hunter just took like a short hitch out in the flat and just like erased the space. Like, I mean, it was unbelievable. Like all I would have to do, if you don't know anything about football and you're like, who's this guy that plays multiple positions and like, why did he go so highly? And look, I know he hasn't completely lived up to that billing yet, but all I would have to do is show you that play and you'd be like, oh, okay. All right. I understand what this is, because that was incredible. The swiftness with which he got resituated and got upfield was crazy.
I get that there's a lot on his plate mentally because of what they're asking him to do defensively, and that's why he can't play all the time on offense. He's probably just absolutely swimming at this point. I don't know. Maybe we just let him play a little bit more receiver and see how it goes based on those 2 plays tonight and what he is clearly capable of. He made a ridiculous catch in the Niners game.
Yeah. I mean, if the game plan ends up more just like, we're only going to throw you screens and also every now and then Trevor will just chuck one up to you 40 yards down the field, that's fine. We don't need him running that many dig routes. But then, yeah, even in the Niners game, there was it was like a pretty standard seam route that he makes an incredible snag on. Like he
made a phenomenal play.
The guy has phenomenal ball skills.
If they can just find ways to get him comfortable in whatever the play calls are, the talent is pretty undeniable.
PFF has him at 24 defensive snaps. I only remember 3 or 4 of those. I do. He helped get the first stop of the night on Travis Kelce. So I mean, not by the letter of the law, my friend. Not the flag did not fly. So I think you're probably right. I think based on what we've seen so far, I would trend toward giving him more snaps at receiver, but this felt like a game where like the vision made sense, where I was like, oh shoot, like he's contributing on both sides of the ball here. Obviously, much more obviously so on offense right now.
I want to be clear about this. This is much more of a selfish request by me wanting to just see him play more offense based on what he is clearly capable of. On the other side of the ball, we mentioned the Devin Lloyd play. It's just a continuation of Devin Lloyd having a phenomenal year for the Jags. And like Derrik alluded to, there's nothing cheap about that play. He even sells the blitz. Like he takes a step forward before bailing out. So Mahomes completely doesn't account for him, drops right back into it, gets picked off. He's done a lot of that this year where he's just dropping back into passing lanes and making game swinging plays because of it. And then can't finish the show, Dave, without shouting out your guy, Jordan Lewis, who has made at least 1 play in every single Jags game this year, seemingly. He has a huge PBU on a 3rd down that leads to one of the only punts of the night for the Chiefs.
He just needed to get to a bigger market with more eyeballs on him than the Dallas Cowboys. You know, he just needed to be playing under the bright lights in Duval County. Look, and even as big, I've been a fan of his game for years, but you're naturally going to be a little suspicious of a 30-year-old corner signing a 3rd contract. I think it might even be a 4th because he signed a couple really short deals during his time in Dallas. But regardless, to say he's playing up to it is a massive understatement. He's been so awesome. I think he's one of the better slot corners in football. He's so cool.
The last thing I want to mention is just, Derrik, I think you're right in that the Jags defense did make Mahomes work for a lot of what he had today. The Chiefs still had like a 73% offensive success rate, and the run game did pretty much whatever they wanted to in this game. So if you're trying to figure out where we can maybe poke holes in this Jags defense that has had some fortunate turnover luck over the first 5 games, has had some kind of game swinging plays, but what are they down to down? The run defense is probably something that's worth keeping an eye on. They got pushed around in this game. I think the interior is still a group that leaves a little bit to be desired. And there were a couple like highlight moments for the Chiefs offensive line on the ground. I mean, that one chunk run for Pacheco near midfield that went for like 11 yards. Josh Simmons does that little like backside snatch technique where he just like dumps a guy, and then Creed Humphreys getting up on a Luakon and just going to work. And so the Chiefs offensive line, I think, is coming together as that sort of group. I'm actually excited to see what those 5 can be by the end of the year, but just something to keep in the back of your mind as you think about where this Jags team potentially needs to close a little bit of a gap if they're going to be a serious team by the end of the season.
And it's a great call because they still, and definitely in this game, like a lot of their too high structures, and especially against Mahomes, they're like, well, we don't want him thrown over the top of us, and that part of it paid dividends. But you sacrifice, especially against offensive lines that can punch you in the mouth and really move people, which I think if this offensive line for the Chiefs comes together, that's the type of unit they're going to be, with bigger guys like Kingsley Suamataia. Obviously, Simmons can do that. Humphrey can do that. Trey Smith can do that when he's right. That's kind of the type of unit they want to be. When you're playing lighter boxes, you kind of leave yourself exposed to that. And for as good as I think Devin Lloyd has been, especially in pass coverage, still a little bit up and down in run defense. And then Oluokun is a little bit more of like a chase player. So that's kind of how you end up with some of those plays.
It felt like this in real time, but just looking up the numbers as you were talking and just all the zone coverage that the Jags play. Against zone looks today per next gen for Mahomes, 27 of 32 for 311 yards.
That sounds right.
Against man, 2 of 9 for 7 yards with that interception. And so just, again, stuff to file away. I mean, that team, if you're going to give them space, they're absolutely going to slice and dice you. The Chiefs have shown an ability to do that, and they did it again tonight. But the Jags make enough plays, including some very splashy ones in an excellent, like the best you can hope for sort of Trevor Lawrence performance. And now the Jacksonville Jaguars are 4-1 and look to be rumbling toward the postseason in the AFC. That was a fun one. We've gotten some just fun as hell primetime games over the first 5 weeks of the season. We've gotten very lucky, and we've had plenty to talk about pretty much every single time we've turned the mics on at about 10:30 Eastern or 10:30 p.m. So hopefully that continues this Thursday. If you guys are looking for more stuff to check out this week, our Week 5 preview is available both on this YouTube feed and wherever you're listening to your podcast. Me and Derrik did the Week 5 hangover today. We hit yesterday's Sunday night game between the Patriots and the Bills, talked about Giants Saints, and then chatted a little bit of Bengals Lions from yesterday as well. So encourage you guys to listen to those if you have not. For now, that's all we got. Appreciate you listening. We'll talk to you very soon.